Welcome to Committee Buru Ethics Marifado. My religion is Hamitics. Ubuntu Maati consciousness is my spirituality. I am a Hamitician. Today we want to look at the topic, a very interesting topic, home of the main Negroid tribes in South Africa found. There is also a number of angles that we are going to share, including the first one, which is the empty land theory, which is proposed by the Boers in South Africa. What is this theory? Maybe you have heard or read articles about it. We want to explore it today. The Dutch settled permanently in South Africa in 1652 after Common Era. And the Dutch come from here. Look at the small little tiny land and look at the vast continent of Africa and look at the place we are dealing with today. The idea propagated by the Dutch to justify their colonization of South Africa was that they believed that the land was empty when they got there. The argument that European settlers and Bantus arrived at the same time, and therefore the Bantus have no right to claim any land here more than the Dutch, is also preposterous. It is used to justify apartheid, evil, incarceration, destruction, and mineral rights. It is still operating today in South Africa because 90% of the companies operating on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange are from Europe. It is also used to surge and cleanse and soften the conscience of those of the colonizers that might be carrying a human conscience. You can go to this website that we are showing here, the empty land myth. Shocking, because academic minds continue with this mendacity. There is a book here, The Past and Future of the Kaffir Races, in 3 parts: Their History, Their Manners and Customs, 1866, by William Clifford Holden. In this book, Holden uses the theory of the empty land as an explanation for land ownership in South Africa. The so-called father of South African history, which we want to say father of lies, historian George Macau Thiel, gave credence to a theory that the Bantu migrated into South Africa at the same time with Europeans. These are the homelands that were later developed, or so-called Bantustans, later developed by the apartheid regime to apportion parts of South Africa, Bantu tribes. Was the land really empty when the Afrikaners arrived in 1652? Who inhabited South Africa first? Is it true that South Africa was empty when the colonizers arrived? We've all heard of the Nguni. Who are they? Where did they come from? Black South Africans, tribal distribution is also found across neighboring countries. The major tribes are the Zulu, the Xhosa, the Ndebele, the Swazi, the Soto, are people who consist of the northern Soto, Baped, and southern Soto, Basotho, and the Tswana, Shangaan, Tsonga, and Venda. There's a lot of stories about the Tsonga, which we will deal with in a future post, and also the Venda or the Enda, we will also deal with. Now, if South Africa is not Nguni land, where is the original home of the Ngunis? We are told now by various modern scholars and oral tradition, which might help us here. Let us consider Bantu migrations, Afrocentric teachings, and other facts to identify the original home of the main Negroid Bantu tribes of South Africa. So there is this theory that is very popular, the Bantu migration theory, which says about 2000 or 3000 BCE, Bantus were in this West Africa part near Nigeria and Cameroon, somewhere there. And then they migrated on the west side, arriving in South Africa about 500 Common Era, and also went to the Great Lakes, and from the Great Lakes started to migrate downwards like this. When you look at this map, you will say, yes, this is correct. Same map here, shown here, Bantu, original Bantu homeland, here, Cameroon, Nok there, close to Benin, and close to Gabon and Nigeria there. But that's what we want to look at. And so Bantu migration theories will destroy the land myth of the Boers, because according to Bantu migration, Bantus already were in South Africa 500 years Common Era. So the Boers came almost 1,000 years later, so they have no claim. So we shut that down and throw it in the garbage bin of myths. On one hand, the Bantu migration is purely a false hypothesis. The so-called Bantu migration is highly suspect. Why do we say that? It is structured somehow to secure Eurocentrists who want to claim that most of Southern Africa originally belonged to the Khoisan. And then once that is agreed, they quickly say these Khoisan were not Bantus. And then they go on to say that the Bantus arrived later and they pushed the Khoisan away, clearing the whole area. And then European colonizers came later. The Bantu migration theory has only one proof, linguistic evidence, and no physical archaeology is given. So it's not correct, and it's also very, very, very wrong. Now, there is also the Afrocentric explanation. There is a work. Anyone who is interested in that PDF, we can send it to you. Just send us an email and say you want the Afrocentric explanation of Bantu origins. This is a work entitled Beyond Umguni, Our Primeval Father. It was written by Mfuselwa Bengu. It traces the origin of Onguni people back to their home. So, Mfuselwa Bengu is the founding director of Ingaba Research Foundation. It is dated October 2014. He states that the Abenguni originated from the Great Lakes region of Africa and migrated into ancient Hamid. And from there, they migrated towards the east of Africa and Central and West Africa. And finally, some of them, under the leadership of Umguni, went towards the present-day South Africa and finally reached the present South Africa and KwaZulu-Natal province in particular. And then this theory has a lot of evidence to support it, specifically when it looks at the Ngunis in Hemet. You can see that the evolution of ancient Egyptian collars. This is Nguni, Xhosa, Mandela there. He was a member of the Xhosa tribe, and also an ancient Hamitian. Dama gives us these pictures. And also here's the Nguni collar again demonstrated. 3,000 years later, it's still wearing the same Hamitic collar. You cannot squeeze yourself out of this. It's correct and it's to the T. And then you go again to the same collar demonstrated here and shown here, various Nguni tribes, the same collar, and the Zulus also wearing, and the Shangans wear also the same, called Shishakat. Again, we continue to show proof upon proof that the Nguni's home might have been Hemet. So there is the ancient Egyptian vest here, this one, and the Nguni vest there. You can see that this is Ledama, photo grid Ledama. Again, you can see that the reconstructing prehistoric African population structure, and there is the Hamid here. How many scholars there they have given that proof? And then the migration south, the migration to west, and also beyond into the Asia Peninsula. Asia is part of Africa, an African continent. There is the modern Bantu, a descendant of the ancient Hamites or Nubians or Ethiopians or Kushites. There is again their tradition of carrying stuff on their heads. The Ngunis here in southern Africa, the Soto here, and also the Hamite there. And then there is the feminine energy, like Ukutwasa and all the traditions that Ngunis do exactly there, and the collar and the head there with all the stuff that we are showing, and the neck rings, the Ndebele, they do that, and many of our descendants all over the earth perform the same thing, as well as our kings with their beards and their heads and everything else. So the this theory or explanation or proof seems to stand. Again, ancient dance, same dance, you see. This is the dance that later evolved to Umchongoyo or Kudzana. This is exactly what exactly the same dance. If these same cultural traditional links are correct, perhaps then the Afrikaners may be standing on some correct foundations. Here and there, Afrocentric scholars pour in more proofs to the delight of the Boers. And we go now and look a little bit at scholastic writings. Is this academic consent that the original home of the Bantus is the Great Lakes and Hamid makes South African land empty? The origin of the Basotho can be traced back to the arrival of the Bantu-speaking peoples south of the Limpopo River from the areas of the Great Lakes and northeastern parts of the African continent, apparently after the overflooding of the Haapki, so-called Nile River, as early as AD 270. By the first centuries of the Christian era, they had reached the Limpopo River and entered South Africa. You can see these scholastic works. Moshega there, traditional and local governance in a democratic South Africa, a non-governmental perspective. Hammond took the roots of Black South Africa and origins of Tswana, Pula, Botswana Journal of African Studies, 1979, and a history of African peoples of South Africa from the early Iron Age to 1970 by Mailam. A lot of writing. Campbell also has another, and Ara Oliver, as well as Atmore. These are sources that I'm giving, academic sources that I'm sharing with you here. A January 2012 issue of DNA Tribes Digest published a genetic analysis of mummies belonging to the Amana period. These include Amenhotep III, Tutankhamun, Yuya, and others. The autosomal STR profiles of these mummies were found to be more frequent in the present-day population of Southern Africa, the African Great Lakes region, and the tropical West Africa, with Southern Africa having the greatest scores. So that must be the proof then that our home as Ngunis, as Bantus, was in Hemed. Let's continue. According to Sir Wallis Budge, as mentioned in the article, the most highly respected papyrus of Hunofara, found in Hamid and the Nile River amongst the indigenous Africans, a book of coming forth by De Partema Hore, kept on reporting that the ancient Hamites clearly stated, "We came from the beginning of the Nile, where the god Haapki dwells, at the foothills of the mountain of the moon, Kilimanjaro, between Kenya and Tanzania, or Rwenzori in Uganda. This area is around the Great Lakes region and Central Africa." So it's clear then that we cannot claim that Hamid was our original home. Our original home, according to the Hamites, is around the Great Lakes region. Then it is quite clear that it was peopled by people that moved from there to both cardinal directions. As Finch 1995, quoted by Dr. Shivara of Zimbabwe, points out that the peopling of the Nile Valley from Africa's Great Lakes region must have occurred over and again in waves. The population wave from the Great Lakes directly ancestral to the historical Nile peoples probably began to settle north of the Second Cataract no later than 15,000 years ago. Which is about 13,000 years ago. This makes a lot of sense now. This settlement did not preempt later migrations. Of course, the people of Africa indeed are one. So it's not a migration as we shall show later. It's something else. According to Asa Imhotep of Moga University Institute of Philosophy and Research, September 6, 2009, citing the late Jordan Ngubane's work, Conflict of the Minds, 1979, the story of the migration of the Amazulu plural proves that the Bantu people were an aboriginal African people of the Upper Nile, same Sudanic Nubian origins. When the Nguni Bantu migrated from the Sudan into what is now South Africa and Natal, the populations began to increase in a pocketed area between the Indian Ocean and the Drakensberg Mountains. So, legend has it that Nguni, the son of Mtu, had 4 descendants: Uxhosa, Uswazi, Undebele, and Luzumane. Uxhosa became the founder of Amaxhosa. Uswazi became the founder of Amaswazi. Undebele became the founder of the Ndebeles, and Uluzumane is the source of the Zulus. So these are the 4 cardinal ancestors of the modern people found in South Africa today. the tribes or the major tribes. Now, is the home of the Negroid peoples of South Africa, Cameroon, Bantu migration, Great Lakes to Hamid and back to Great Lakes, then Southern Africa via the eastern part of Africa? If yes, when did this take place? Idiotic nonsense by racist colonists falls flat. Historians and activists alike also pointed to a glaring omission by the theorists of the empty land hypothesis or myth, that they deliberately and absolutely are silent on the existence of the Khoi or the Khoi San, so-called Batwa or Bushmen, according to the modern terminologies. Population of Southern Africa who roamed much of southern western region of the continent. The scientific idea that they are not Bantus is a lie and utter nonsense, since the word Bantu or Vanu or Umuntu means the same people to them. Look at them, right? These are Bantus. We will not accept any other explanation. Now, let's find the real home of the Bantu to finally settle their roots with the proofs. Now, science now, today's the current scenario, has identified Botswana, Magali or Kavango wetlands as the ancient home of the Bantus, or humanity, melanin dominant humans, that they moved southwards and moved northwards and populated most likely the Great Lakes, since they were associated with water. If you use totems, this will be straightforward and clear. We can get this from the origin of modern humans traced to Botswana, BBC News, and also Source and Nature. The birthplace of humanity, scientists have identified the real Garden of Eden, where humans first walked the earth. They believe our ancestral homeland lies to the south of the Zambezi River in northern Botswana. Magari Westlands here. That's quite something that you need to chew your minds on. There's more evidence of the real home of Bantus here. Right? Magari Pan, Kalahari, Khoisan, West Coastal, all that area. Now let's give more evidence. Now this, we need to put a timeline, so follow us now as we will put years along the way. So there was also some discoveries, mathematical discoveries, that are almost not popular, but they are there, proving that the original Bantu home still can be pinpointed in Southern Africa. There, the original home, in terms of time, when we put a timeline, you see that it makes a lot of sense. But that this doesn't remove the Great Lakes region or the western part of the continent of Africa, Cameroon or Borneo, there, that area there. So these African artifacts, which are the oldest mathematical artifacts called the Lebombo bone, dates back to almost 40,000 years, and they were discovered in Lebombo Mountains in Swaziland. Here, somewhere here, right? In Southern Africa. Again, more proof. The Ishango bone. Remember, the Lebombo bone is 40,000 years. 20,000 years later, another bone was discovered, or another bone is in line. It's known as the Ishango bone. Ishango, Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is about 20,000 to 25,000 years old, is the lower bone from a baboon, which has 3 rows of tally marks along the length, which may have been used to add or multiply or mark the calendar or some other mathematics that we cannot know today. The Ishango bone, 22,000 years old, is the cradle of mathematics found in Africa, southern part of Africa, Central Africa to be specific, in the Congo. So Africans were already doing maths, which means their cognitive advancement is already far, far older. Today, 40,000 in Eswatini and now up to about 20,000 in the Congo. But there is more. There is more. Look at this one. 3 billion years old proof. In a place called Krugersdorp in Mzansi or Azania, there is these stones, 2.8 billion year old. You see this grooved line? There are scientists that say no, these metals were not done by humans. This was they call it nature. It's not nature. It's exactly a machine here, which means 3 billion years ago there were already people here in Mzansi, here in all these areas. This is a shock. Your brain, if you are educated, if you are a scientist, if you are highly educated according to the standards of European education, which dominates the whole world, you say this is a lie. If you follow the Bible, if you follow the Quran, if you follow the Torah, you are limited at 7,000 years BCE. To go to 3 billion, it's a shock in your head. You discard and you never go there. Your mind has been imprisoned. You need to look at this evidence, which we will give in the description if you want to further do your own research. Now, so where did we come from? The original home of Ngunis and the other Bantus in South Africa is Southern Africa. Empty land is just a myth. Bantu migration is a misnomer. It must be called Bantu expansion or Bantu exploration. Our ancestors explored the whole earth in many waves. Because of that, we populated many parts of Africa, like the Great Lakes and the Nile Valley. Bantu migrations, oral and Afrocentric explanations are just pieces of the bigger puzzle, which fits in the 3 billion year timeline. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is a bomb. Evolutionists tell us that 300 to 200 years ago, Homo sapiens, modern humans, appear in Africa. But the clock stones or balls or bearings tell us that 3 billion years ago. So that is the evidence. We will not be stuck to this 300. So yes, if we were to put more evidence, we will find that this is not correct. This is another species. Africa is diverse. There's a lot of diversity in terms of life. So if you want to join the winning team, you can do so today by sending us an email on join@marifado.com. This is printed by LM Dumizulu of Committee Hebrew Ethics Marifado, saying we are from 3 billion years ago. Let us look for more puzzles to the 3 billion year old puzzle of Bantu or melanin dominant human existence. Do not let Christianity, Islam, Judaism, evolution, or any other science limit your time on the earth. Our ancestors are from old. Till we meet again, I say edupe, siabonga, tatenda, henkos.